Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Evoked Thoughts podcast. We're all gathered here again today to talk about just talk about a game that really, like, real talk, has been on my mind incessantly for a good 3 weeks or so.
About a month and a half, actually.
Yeah, but I mean, it didn't start that way, and we'll get into that in a second. But first and foremost, I'm Jay.
I'm Alex.
And I'm Tommy.
And so the conversation really began, I think, when E3 rolled around last year. I think is when we first really saw our first good look at this game, Anthem.
Yeah.
It's the new kind of open world looter shooter, just shared world shooter experience, Destiny-like kind of thing that BioWare is doing. If you're not familiar with the industry too much, BioWare, they're the same guys who back in the day they did Knights of the Old Republic, KOTOR, and since then they've done SWOTOR as well, the Star Wars The Old Republic, the MMO. They've also are the minds behind Dragon Age and Mass Effect, and they're just a really great overall RPG kind of heavy studio that can pull off really amazing things when it comes to story and player agency specifically.
Yeah.
They historically have not really been known for their combat, while Dragon Age had some interesting kind of like split time kind of stuff, sort of turn-based action. Mass Effect was never something that anyone was like really into it for the combat, though it's not bad by any means. It's just a matter of it wasn't really a standout thing. But I think one of the things that really caught me from the beginning with Anthem is that when they were showing it at E3, they had a lot of mobility, which I think is the thing they're trying to lean on hardest. But the combat was something I wasn't very excited about for a long time because it seemed very, like, almost unnecessary. It almost seemed like, you've got a gun, you've got grenades, you've got explosions, and that's great, but it's like, why? You're flying and you're doing all this crazy shit, and they couldn't think of anything else to give you to kind of do that, right? But then recently, over the past like 3 weeks or so, they've been showing off a lot more of the stuff and kind of basically explaining that the stuff we saw back in the day was really, really early build, base game kind of skill sets and stuff. And now that we've seen a lot more of it, I think it really opens up a lot. So, anyway, my mind has definitely changed on it. In the beginning, I was definitely very down on it because it seemed like it was going to be one of those kind of like very loot box, microtransaction heavy kind of really one note kind of things where the whole goal is just buy these things to feel better than other people, and be more successful than
What's that ninja game again?
Warframe.
So it's not like Warframe.
No.
So
No.
there's no transactions or anything.
Well, so the way that it works is that there are, in Anthem, what BioWare has said is that exclusively the microtransactions are going to be cosmetic. They haven't specified what exactly that's going to entail, though what we understand is that, and what they've said incessantly, is that you will never be able to use real money to acquire power. And that the in-game currency, which you will be using and buying with real money if you want to buy cosmetics, can be earned in-game.
Yeah, no matter what you can just buy with real money, you can actually just earn in the game. There's nothing, aside from probably like the pre-order bonuses, I would imagine.
Probably the pre-order bonuses.
But aside from like that, nothing is locked behind a paywall.
Right.
Okay.
The only other thing that we have heard a lot more recently, now that we're getting a lot closer to launch is February 22nd. There's a VIP demo running right now, the weekend of the 25th, 26th. And next week is the free demo for everyone to play, which will be the week of February the 1st, Friday through Monday, I believe, which is everyone being able to log on with no need to have bought anything or anything like that, just so that if you want to test out the game, you can test it out. But that all being said, the only thing they have said that will require money most likely down the line, because what they have said for certain is that even story DLC and expansions, as they're going to probably be an MMO style kind of experience, they still said that they're going to make that content free. Javelins, the exosuits that you enter that serve as kind of the classes in the game, which are very versatile in their own right, are the only thing they've said they're probably going to charge for. However,
That's exclusively the DLC javelins, the new javelins
Right.
that eventually released.
correct, as they create new javelins, basically the way that I think it'll turn out is like you'll pay $60 for the start game, like you do for any game. You'll get free in-game content constantly, new updates. They said the world is ever changing, so one district you go to one week may be totally different the next week because an event is happening there or whatever. All this stuff that in most games you'd have to pay for to get these new instances and these new events that are occurring, they're going to just be adding that. PvP is something they're talking about adding down the line. That's not at all their focus right now, but I'm sure eventually they'll have some sort of update for it, maybe sometime next year, I'd imagine. Where they really try to make a big deal about it. But the thing that is most likely going to be the long term, what people are really paying for, is javelins. Because as they continue to create these completely new classes, essentially, I think that you pay the $60, and every 6 months you pay $5-10 to get a totally new class that's completely different than anything else. It's like I think. There are a lot of things that just come to my mind immediately, being kind of the creator that I am, that I'm like, yeah, I'd pay $10 to wield a fucking scythe in Anthem or whatever.
So I don't know if a lot of you know this, but like the main goal to today's topic too is try to convince me to get back on the Anthem train, because for a while, like I was on it. Just
you were on
because
the train for like 1 week.
No, I actually wasn't. He showed me some trailers in the very beginning, and this is
I de-hyped Rios.
No, he actually de-hyped me, and I
because he was way more hyped about Anthem than I was in the beginning.
Well, no,
Anthem
here's the thing.
Scared me.
For a while, there was a lot of rumors that Anthem was happening, but it was never actually even like feasible at the time. Like no one was like, "Oh, this is actually happening," until like recently. Now it's like, "Oh, it's happening." Remember? So there was a while where he was just kind of showing me a bunch of trailers and everything, and I just love the idea of flying mech suits put into an RPG. To me, I was like, "That's fucking awesome." Because, like, I never played anything like that. And also, I'm still a relatively new gamer. I didn't start until, like, towards the end of 2016, really. Really, like, beginning of 2017 did I start gaming. So I haven't played too much, but I played enough, and I know what I like and what I know I don't like. I do know I've played 2 BioWare games, I believe. I've played the Mass Effect Andromeda, which, has its fair share of criticism. I still enjoyed it for the most part, but I also hated it too for its things, but this isn't a Mass Effect thing, And I did try to play the Game of the Year edition version of Dragon Age. I think it was the
Dragon Age
Inquisition. And oh god, I didn't barely get past that game. I honestly didn't give it any justice, so I need to go back and play that to really give a full opinion on it. But from what I saw, that combat system sucks. So I don't know. I don't know what to expect with Anthem. Did BioWare make? Because I'm not super knowledgeable in the video game world. Mm-hmm. That's just not my cup of tea. Like I enjoy video games. I'm still trying to learn. I'm still new.
Right.
But what did Anthem or is BioWare Destiny? Is that who?
No. Bungie
Okay.
does Destiny. So in any video game, right? For anyone who doesn't know what's going on. Basically, there is a studio who creates the game and builds it from the ground up with using their creative expertise.
Kind of like the same
game.
with
And then there's a
production
production company who pays to make sure that studio can do that. In some cases, the production company is the studio, but it's not very often that the studio is the production company.
Yeah, it's.
So basically. Bungie is a studio, Activision is a publisher. In our case with Anthem, BioWare is the studio that made Mass Effect, that made Dragon Age, that made SWTOR, KOTOR. And EA is the publisher. And so the big thing that hit me hard with Anthem when I first saw it was that it's EA. And it's been a running joke for a good 8 years to talk about how terrible EA is. And
oh no, man!
a part of it is because their E3 conferences are terrible, but it's also because they have been doing some really shitty stuff, and it's not just on the customer side either. Like they've been shoving all these loot boxes and stuff down our throats and everything, but they've also been doing a lot to force studios who work under them, who they fund to make the game. So if the studio does not make the publisher happy, the publisher can revoke money or even cancel the game entirely. Like they are
Or
the ones
cancel entire
funding.
studios.
They were the Star Wars people, weren't they?
Yep.
The Battlefront, that
Yes,
was all E EA.
EA has been shuttering studios because of Star Wars. Shuttering meaning closing, completely closing studios and destroying the livelihoods of many people.
You know what?
Because games aren't meeting their expectations and they're not making as much money as they want to.
Just an offhanded comment real quick. That's,
Yeah.
for just, this is even for the viewers. I would love to talk about the freaking tragedy that is happening to Star Wars. But listen.
Absolutely something we can do at some point.
Just
There's
something
a lot
that,
to talk about.
No,
and
no.
a lot that you probably don't know that I can fill you in.
No, I didn't even watch the second movie. But like just the stuff that's happening with the cinematic universe, and even just the marketing stuff, and like what they're doing with the video games, and like just the franchise as a whole.
No, it's absolutely
not
something
living
to
to
get
its full
into
potential.
at some point. But that is, I promise, that is another podcast. We could do a whole.
Oh
podcast.
no! I'm just pointing. That's why I thought I'd throw it out.
We could do a whole podcast just
trust
about what
me.
EA is doing with the license for games,
Yeah.
let alone the movies and stuff. But
I would
going
love
back
to
to
do that,
Anthem,
but,
the thing was that with EA being the studio that is or the publisher rather that's overseeing the studio of BioWare, it became a scary thing because EA has this habit of enforcing what they call I don't remember, but enforcing these practices that essentially make recurrent spending opportunities are what they call them. Loot boxes, microtransactions, creating within a game opportunities or more obligations for the player of the game who already purchased the game at full price to then spend more money to get more stuff in the game that should, in all honesty, already be there or be accessible at the very least through playing the game.
They also have a nasty habit of forcing studios to release games far sooner than they're ready. That's a lot of the issues that occurred with the launch of Mass Effect Andromeda is that it needed like one more month of tweaking and it would have been fine.
The freaking bugs though, and they were so small, and even being a new player, because I was a relatively new player, it was like, I think it was my second RPG I played.
Yeah.
My first one being Skyrim, of course, because it's a great starter one. But my second one being Mass Effect Andromeda. Dude, even I, as like someone who's never really played video games, I think I played Nintendo and stuff, but like an actual like PS4, like Xbox, like those kind of video games, with just, like deeper stories and all that. Like playing that, man. Dude, even I could point out the glitches and I would see them, and it just was small stuff like facial and stuff like that. But it was small, but
that's the
enough
thing.
to where you could notice
It was such small stuff that it really was a month, like maybe two
that's what
at
I was
most
saying,
that
dude.
would have taken them to iron it out, or a beta. There are so many. Even a demo would be something that would allow them to get feedback. But here's the thing about EA, and this is what a lot of people say, and this is what will come up in the Star Wars conversation if we get to it. That EA, they do not make games for the players. They don't make games for the audience. They make games for their shareholders. They ensure that the game makes as much money as it needs to, and that the game releases in the quarter it needs to, so that their numbers always look good.
That's why we get a sports game for every sport every single year.
Yeah. With small iterations. Even people who love those sports games can say that there's not really enough change that you're going to really be justified in buying.
I will say something. I freaking
even Call
played
of Duty,
FIFA.
for all the problems that I have with it. Sorry to cut you off, but just to finish my
you're
point,
good.
and then I'll let you talk. Even Call of Duty, for all the problems I have with it, every iteration is different. I can't deny that. The multiplayer, even that part of it, they change so much that people are consistently happy with that. And it's, not consistently happy with it, but it is consistently different enough that they're happy with the purchase. It's justified. But something like EA Sports is something that is very intentionally just for money. Yeah, you can go ahead. Sorry, guys.
No, you're good. I actually used to play. I was really big into the FIFA games for a while too, because I never got into gaming, but I would still play games. Like I played the FIFA and all that. And I remember having like FIFA around. It was like FIFA 13, and I had FIFA 10. Nothing ever really changes, like you said. The only thing is the graphics get a little bit better each year. That's it. It's all the same trick. Well, you get new players because it has to keep up with the market and like who's popular. They have to change the ratings because they'll always assign ratings to who's popular at the time.
Yeah.
But honestly, like the teams are still the same. All your teams are the best teams. You're like, oh, Barcelona or Real Madrid. You're gonna win if you play that team.
Right.
And it's just kind of gotten to the point where it's like, I used to love it, and I'd play hours playing it, but I'm like, I got to 13, and I'm like, I don't know if I want to go to 14. I don't want to keep going with this thing because it's just the same game. It's literally the same game every year.
But
and people buy that shit.
Yeah.
But that's the biggest problem. The
And
biggest
it's
problem
so
is they've
lame.
created an understanding that you as a player know that you can't just keep playing 13 though. Like the servers, they're not gonna be full because everyone's moving on. In 1 year, you're gonna lose the majority of people to the next new game. Some people may come back if they don't like the new game, but in 2 years, once the new game is out, no one's gonna be on the 2-year-old game. That's the problem with annualization, and especially for a multiplayer thing, it really sucks. But that's why, I will say, kind of trying to bring us back to Anthem, the concept of a shared world and what they call a continual experience, right? A game that is not a numbered game. It's not a game that's really intended to have a sequel. Something like, in theory, what we all kind of thought Destiny was going to be, and what I still think they're kind of staging the grounds for with Destiny. But basically, the idea
Destiny
is...
alone.
Well, no, the idea is
Like
that
Destiny.
these games are created with the intention of just being one game.
Hang
You
on.
buy the game.
You just quietly, you said you like us. You're allowed to like Destiny, but
I'm not wrong either. I like Destiny. So do other people.
Oh yeah, I love Destiny.
Jalen loves Destiny.
Yeah, I love Destiny.
but it has its flaws, like much.
Oh
like
yeah, Destiny definitely has
Oh,
its flaws.
it has
One
its
of its
flaws.
flaws is that it has other games. It should have continued to just evolve as a single game, but that's a completely different topic. Going back to
Yeah,
Anthem.
we'll talk about that some other
Going
time.
back to Anthem. The thing is, right, at this point,
You know what? No, we've talked enough.
Oh.
Let's just jump into make. Jalen is come back on the bus. I never left. I love BioWare games. I would buy it even if it got terrible coverage and wasn't what I wanted to be.
Oh, dude, if they came back out with another Mass Effect to continue the Andromeda, oh, dude, you know I'd buy it.
They probably
Yeah.
will, but regardless, where are you on an Anthem?
Or am I on Anthem?
Yeah.
Okay, so it all started with, I remember being really hyped because there was that idea of like mechs, and then there was that cool flying mechanic, and it was an RPG. And then I saw the trailer, and then I don't know, man. This could just be because I didn't grow up playing these kind of video games. I just kind of jumped into them. But I saw a trailer and it didn't really like hit me that hard. It just kind of like, honestly, it kind of just looked like a Destiny trailer. You know what I mean? And I just was like, man, I don't know. I don't know what this game's supposed to be like. I haven't really seen too much game coverage on it. Like, is it an RPG? Is it an MMO? Like, I don't know. I just don't know a lot about it. And then it just got to the point where I was like, there's some cool shit in there, but is it really worth me putting down the money and then consistently playing? Is this really a world? Like, what separates this so much that makes me want to be able to stay and be in this world and keep coming back consistently? You know? Because I had another poor experience was, I played an RPG that was, Skyrim. I got the Elder Scrolls one. I played it for maybe like a month. I played it with you guys and everything.
Elder Scrolls Online,
Yeah.
the Bethesda MMO based in the Skyrim world.
And it was cool, and I was all about it. And then it just kind of lost steam for me, and I didn't have that. It was still a cool game, and I still think there's some cool stuff in it. But I lost the drive to go back to that world and play.
I've had that same problem for a long time, and then literally
Yeah.
today, while watching videos for Anthem, I was like, God, I want to play a good MMO. And then I popped in ESO, and I've been playing it all day.
Really?
Yeah, it's still a great
should've
game. It's
told
just a
me.
matter of like,
Would've
things
played.
get swept under the rug with how many games are coming out.
I
you know?
guess, but like, yeah, it's so weird, man. I don't have the drive, and I don't, I'm not in the place where I want to just be putting down money.
Right.
We're up and coming people who have our company and everything. We're trying to like build this big thing, and it's like I don't want to just like throw my money around like that.
But suffice to say, what are your pros and cons about the game?
Oh,
It's not money that I'm wanting to invest. It is,
time.
or that I'm worried about investing.
It's time.
What I'm worried about investing is
I'll bet it's
time.
Oh, it's
and-
time. Holy shit, guys. Whoa.
Chill. No, it is. No, I'm worried about investing. Just that energy that you get whenever you start a new game. You're like, this is so cool and everything, and then just having it just disappear again because this is the same thing. I've played this.
So
before,
let's do this. Let's start from the ground up, right? Some of the people listening, we're about 20 minutes in, so we might move this to the front or not. I don't know. We're a fucking mess over here, but we're trying to make cool content. But,
For
to start
real.
off, right? What is Anthem? Right? Okay, so Anthem is a BioWare game, right?
Is it an RPG?
They promise that it's going to have some really deep, intricate kind of story and lore, but they've also kind of shown, well, they've not necessarily said this, but they've shown that it's not necessarily the forefront. It's more a backdrop as a world, creating a world that you're then going to exist in. They've got to focus on movement and mobility. And the big thing that they showed at E3, the kind of yearly games conference exposition, is that it is basically an Iron Man simulator. That's pretty much what they wanted to show from the beginning. It has a full flight mechanic. You can get in this mechanized, 8-foot suit, it's like 2 heads taller than a person, and fly around with like expert controls like you're in an F-16. And, turn on a dime, stop whenever you want, cut the engines, turn the engines back on, be flying around, and then hit the ground and be running and doing all this crazy stuff. And you can go straight from flying to swimming. And so they're really focusing on that. There's also some guns in the game, which haven't been much of a focus until recently. They're talking about them more now. And the big thing, other than the flying itself, is that you're not limited to just one Iron Man suit. These exosuits, which they call javelins, there are 4 of them at the beginning of the game, and each of them, as I've said in the past, they're kind of like classes almost, where each one is drastically different from each other. So there's one that casts spells and creates elemental effects that's like a mage. There's a more like roguish one that allows you to like basically jump around the field way faster than everyone else and does a bunch of melee attacks and has some debuffs like acid and stuff like that. There's a more Iron Man one that has a bunch of like literally something that's like almost exactly like the Jericho missiles, that's like a shoulder mounted multi-mortar, that shoots a bunch of missiles that hit a bunch of targets, and then has, is supposed to be more like single target oriented, like a commando almost, which seems to me, the more I watch it, to be more of like a Mass Effect kind of playstyle, if you're wanting that kind of playstyle. And then there's the Colossus, which is this like 12-foot tall, like 4-foot, or like 6-foot wide fucking tank of a thing with a like physical shield that it pulls out and fucking bulwarks into people, and it's supposed to be this really crazy thing. So yeah, and then they've got this kind of concept for the story, this idea of this world that's forged by these gods, and then these gods basically disappear, but they leave their tools behind, and the world is unfinished, and so these tools continue to activate and kind of go off and on without any real like reason, and no one knows why that's happening, and it's causing these really disruptive things, changing the creatures and the environments, and basically terraforming the world like at random. The world isn't Earth. That's something that they've said. The world is actually its own world, but they've also said this world in their lore is the world where humans originated. So while it's not Earth, this is where their humans came from, as well as all the other creatures that are on there, except for these aliens that are invading who seem to want the Anthem, which is the power of the gods that these tools use.
Is there other planets?
They have not spoken about it yet, but they have hinted a lot at other locations. They're not saying the word planet because I don't think they want to hold themselves to something that crazy. But there is a very diverse map. So far, we've only seen a few biomes that are fairly similar, but we've only seen a very small portion of the map. The map is huge, and what's crazy is because you can fly, the map is, I think it was, someone showed a picture of it side by side with the GTA 5 map, the Grand Theft Auto 5 map, and it was something like 7 or 8 times the size of all of the GTA 5 map. And then on top of that, it's all the way to the sky and all the way to the ground with cave systems and mountains and different underground things. So there's like sea level to skybox, this whole massive area through which you can fly. It takes about 9 minutes to fly across. To put that in perspective, it takes like, I think it was 5 to fly or to drive across in GTA 5. So it's pretty significant.
To drive across the entire map?
Yeah. At like top speed without any, like with dev controls, like without any.
I was about to say, because I was like, I don't know.
No, just driving like straight.
But
through mountains and shit.
I want to ask too, what kind of sci-fi is it technically categorized? Is it like Horizon kind of sci-fi, or is it like, it's definitely not massive.
How about give categories of sci-fi? What would you say you categorize sci-fi as?
Okay, kind of like,
Like how can you?
I always think that there's like the post-apocalyptic sci-fi where there's still like sci-fi tech, but they're all like stranded on like one planet,
Not
There's
really
all that
like
tech.
that, though I think there are elements of that. The humans are definitely the lowest level of any kind of rung. They're very like cheap clothing.
That's what I saw,
Their
yeah.
place is kind of built out of like ramshackle kind of metals and stuff. They've put all of their resources into protecting themselves because this world is so volatile and dangerous.
It's about 2 steps from Diesel Punk.
Yeah, it's close to diesel punk, but it's also got more. honestly, a lot of like Mass Effect Andromeda style Pathfinder kind of vibes to it when
Yeah,
you're out
that's
in the
what I
world. It's
saw.
a new world.
It's kinda
Even
like-
though
yeah.
the humans know this world, it's a new world for us. It's so drastically different than what we as people expect from sci-fi that like every turn they take, every new creature they meet, every new environment they get into, I'm just like, wow, that's so different.
See, I didn't see that, but I definitely saw, because I never played Horizon, but I saw the gist of it, you know? I got
You're
a lot
talking
of
about Horizon Zero Dawn
Yeah,
on the
yeah,
PS4?
yeah. I got a lot of Horizon vibes, and then I got a lot of Mass Effect Andromeda, because I never played the other Mass Effect games, but I did get a lot of the Mass Effect Andromeda vibes of just like, oh, you're like this pioneer in space, you know?
Yeah.
And like,
If you had
know.
to allude it to something, those would be not bad comparisons.
But those are the vibes
Yeah.
I got from it. But it didn't really. But then again, I still haven't seen any gameplay trailers. I've never even played a demo or any of that, so like I don't think there is one.
Yeah, well,
But-
the free demo is next week.
Okay.
On the 1st, it's free to everyone. You just download it, pick up and play. It's levels 10 to 15. During the duration, you have access to. You'll level up twice. Like the level 12 and level 14, I think, are where you get javelins. So you'll get by the end of it, you'll have 3 javelins that you can try out. As I understand it, I believe it might just be 1. But you start with the ranger, so you'll at least have 2 javelins total. And you get to play through at level 10, so it's kind of past the tutorial and everything, so you get to start with some weapons, you get to play a couple of story missions, and just kind of generally fly around the world. So if you're wanting to jump into it, I'd definitely be willing to jump into it with you. And you guys as well, it's on PS4, PC, and Xbox One, so if anyone's wanting to check it out or has gotten interested about it because we've been talking about it, like definitely go do that. And leave a comment too if you have anything that you're feeling about it after you've played it.
I don't know. I'm still really skeptical. I don't know. I definitely think I want to give the demo a chance, though.
Yeah.
Just to give it a chance,
Well,
you know?
where is your skepticism at this point? Where is it coming from?
It just doesn't strike me as anything like it, because in the beginning it was super intriguing, and then it's just like, I don't know, man. I don't know what it was. I guess I've played sci-fi games since then, and I've played games that have a flight mechanic, you know? I played, Gravity Rush. It's not like a full fly mechanic, but it's a pretty decent fly mechanic. And then I played Just Cause 3, which, of course isn't full flight of like just like Gravity Rush, but it's like, it's pretty much if you really get
It's something.
good at it,
It's
man.
something pretty great.
So that was a big thing for me at the beginning. And then, I didn't play anything with a mech. I mean, I did play that one game. What was it called again?
Titanfall.
I played Titanfall. It was pretty fun. I don't know.
It's
That's
a
just
great benchmark for what a mech is.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but it just lost its spark for me, and I don't know really why. I mean, I hope that changes once I play the demo, and then maybe I can get reinvigorized. I guess I don't know. Reinvigorized. But like, I don't know. It's just, I don't know.
It's captured my attention, I think, for a lot of reasons, but mainly because I've been waiting. I love MMOs, massive multiplayer online games. I played DCUO back in the day, the DC Universe video game, as well as SWTOR.
Back
Star
in the
Wars
day, it
video
was 2
game
years
made
ago
by
you played
BioWare.
it last.
Well, no, but like deeply got into it like 6 years ago. I was playing it like.
Okay,
really
but I have a
hardcore.
real quick question for you though. 2 things. So is it an RPG or is it an MMO?
Well,
it is
it's
an
both.
RPG. It's not an MMO. I mean, technically, but it's not massively multiplayer.
No, but it's both because this new genre it's neither and both. It's called a shared world shooter, and it's essentially it's what Destiny is. So at any given time, you will have something like, I think in this game it's 4 different players in your world who are with you, but they don't have to be where you are. So you guys can meet up with each other, exist in the same world. You can be doing your own story
Only
stuff
4.
on your own. And actually, what I kind of love about it is that, what they've said explicitly is that in the open world, there will only ever be 4, yourself and 3 others. So it's not going to be like a MMO where you are running into 300 people and they're all trying to do all this different stuff.
And notably, it's not 3 random people. It's only like 3 people you're in a party with.
Yeah.
It's not you're going to run into random people that you don't know.
There is matchmaking. You can choose to have people spawn in your world, but as I understand it, you can also go alone.
So how heavy do they lean in the RPG parts? Like what kind of RPG
Mostly.
could you rank it?
We're like, Destiny is, I would claim, more of a shooter RPG.
Yes.
It's barely an RPG to me. It's
Exactly.
more of like a
Right.
shooter.
Right. It's more of a shooter with
This-
RPG elements.
I trust BioWare to make great games, and I trust them by the
Because
word.
there's not really any choice.
It's an RPG with shooter ideas.
Yeah, really, the only thing that makes it a shooter is that it has guns.
Yeah.
Because
Like,
there is a
combat
class
is
you
with
can
a gun.
play. Actually, there are two classes you can play, I would argue. The Storm and the Interceptor. So the Storm is the mage class, and the Interceptor is the sort of like ninja rogue class. Both of them you can play without firing a gun. I mean, I've seen a lot of gameplay. The Interceptor's whole thing is that it gets up close and uses these like melee attacks. And then when it there's this combo mechanic where you can basically set up these primers, which are like these debuffs and stuff like fire or ice, whatever. And then you use a detonator attack. So there's two different types of attacks. And when you use a detonator attack, you go into a combo. And every javelin has its own effect that occurs with the combo. So with the Interceptor, the combo effect is that it creates an aura of that element around it that melee attackers then suffer that aura. So like if it primes fire and then detonates fire, or if your ally primes fire and then you detonate their fire, you get an aura of fire that will then burn everyone around you. And on top of that, you're this badass ninja who gets in there with these knives and are slicing people up and doing all these crazy fucking ninjutsu attacks. You can summon a shadow of yourself to attack someone. You can fucking
So this
dash in there
combat
and
sounded
smash
a lot
dudes
better
down.
actually than
But
what
then
I've
the
seen so
Storm, what's crazy is it's not just
Bio.
that though. Like, because I think of like Warframe, right? Where to me, the combat is, well, really, really good, honestly, and the movement is really good and stuff.
Oh no,
It's
the only thing
very-
in my opinion about Warframe that's good is the movement.
Well,
The
yeah,
movement's
but
fucking
the point is, like,
spectacular.
it's very one note. It's all very similar in what you're doing. Whereas with Anthem, what I've seen so far with these 4 javelins and what gives me hope and will make me really be okay with paying $10 to $15 if it comes to that, to buy a new javelin every 6 months, is that, like, they're different. Because the Storm, its whole thing is it can hover a lot longer than all the others, and it has magic abilities that are mostly primers. So it's got a lot of like fire and ice and electricity that it uses to stun people and do all this stuff. And you don't ever really need to fire a gun as the Storm. They also all have their different sort of movement concepts, right? So like the Interceptor can do a triple jump that's like this badass like ninja flip and then go into flight and stuff. But then like the Storm can do a teleport. And so, like, while you're flying, you can use, that to, like, maneuver away and stuff. And, like, the Ranger can do a barrel roll when it's flying. And the Colossus, while it actually doesn't fly much faster, has a physical shield it can pull out while it's flying and, like, block
okay.
attacks and stuff.
The other thing I wanted to ask too, because already now I'm actually kind of intrigued into the combat. Actually, 2 more things, but how deep does the RPG elements go? Does it go as to where you can change the entire story for you?
So,
Yes.
regards
Yeah.
to the story,
Your story is your individual. It's not based on if you're in a party. It's no.
Yeah.
Your story is your own.
well, what they've said, they have a buzz phrase for this essentially that sounds very much like EA made it more than them because they say it too much, and I'm like, this is definitely EA's thing. But basically, they call it "Our World, Your Story." So the idea is, it's so EA, but basically, our world is all of us out there doing world stuff, doing whatever we want, right? But Fort Tarsus, the main story hub where you go back to, there is never anyone there except for you. You are the only person interacting with the story there. All of your choices matter. Whoever you are dealing with is dealing with you. You open up new places in the fort as you progress in the story and build the fort out. No one's said anything about it yet, but people are speculating that there's probably going to be some sort of player housing there. There's probably going to be some sort of like, customization in terms of like opening new shops or something.
Okay, so
because
it's getting
the
into
idea
real
is
RPG
you're building
territory.
it out.
So like,
Okay.
So there's a very singular story focused on you. You
'Cause
are
that to me would be
kind of
interesting,
the chosen one almost in this world who's going to end up doing these crazy things, sort of like in Destiny.
Well,
Except
but
that in Destiny, you have all these people running around the tower who are going to talk to the exact same NPC who just told them they're the chosen one.
exactly.
In
so,
this
like,
case,
you don't have
that's
the-
not what's happening.
Yeah.
So, and then your other thing?
My other question is, what turned you back onto it, man? Like, what got you back on the train?
I think Alex is a big part of it.
Really?
Yeah, I think that's definitely a big part of it because he understands how I feel about it and understood where I felt about it, but he was able to kind of bring me back onto the idea of it's BioWare. And I think that to some people that doesn't mean a lot. To some people they don't even really know what that means. There may be some people listening right now who don't know what BioWare is, other than what we've told you in this podcast. But
I played like 2
to
games
me,
of them.
man, BioWare is my childhood. Mass Effect is like Dragon Age 2 is probably one of the best games I've ever played. And so many people hate that game, but I love that game and I love what they did with it. It was such a small story and it was focused in one city. So the idea of that being the kind of story they're telling here gets me really excited, but also like BioWare did SWTOR, man. BioWare did KOTOR back in the day. The original Revan story they created and did there, and it was amazing.
It's a great game.
It doesn't hold up, but it's like I played that game maybe like 8 years ago for the first time and beat it, and like it did not hold up then. It was from like the 90s, and it was terrible, but like playing through it, I was like, this is amazing. I'm getting that feeling that the same kids did when they picked this up in the 90s. We're like, this is amazing. Because it's not that it holds up, that's not the point. The point is the story was amazing, the characters are amazing. They put so much love and effort into it. Casey Hudson, the kind of like creative director over there, just fucking rocks, dude. Like, he knows what matters in a story.
To put
people and characters and relationships that you care about.
To put in perspective, Rios, to this day, I told Jalen 3 days ago, God, I want to go back and play Mass Effect 2. A game that's how old?
Oh, God.
I want to
at
say
least
something.
10 years.
10 plus years old. I still, to this day, I want to go back and play that. Same with Dragon Age 2. They're not games that like visually really hold up. They've aged.
That's not what it's about.
But it's
No.
not. The story.
Yeah.
It's BioWare does story.
If
They
they remastered the
regenerated-
Mass Effect games, I would totally go back and play them because I've seen so
everyone
much
would.
stuff.
I would go back and play them.
And I played Andromeda knowing that apparently that wasn't the best game, and I still found enjoyment out of it. And
Yeah.
I'm also a big sci-fi geek, so that's another thing. Like
And-
that's my genre. So just the fact that there was better versions of that game that I really enjoyed, because to me, there's not a lot of good sci-fi games like
Yeah.
Mass
that.
Effect 2 the best?
There's like,
Yeah, I
So-
think Mass Effect 2 is probably the best.
you know, for me, just the fact that there is one that I can go back and play that's
2-1.
like has like this big story and
3-1.
everything, yeah, I'd go back and play. They remastered.
But no, it's their MMO that's still running. Star Wars of the Old Republic, SWTOR. You can play all sorts of different classes. One of them is just like the smuggler. You're like you do like the
That's
Han
so
Solo-
Literally
badass.
Han Solo, like
Especially
but
because
they-
I grew
they
up a
make-
Star Wars kid too.
They make that story feel impactful and matter.
Dude.
You're a smuggler. It's in the name. Like you don't matter, but they make that story feel impactful.
as someone who like really fell deep down the SWTOR hole and like bought the membership and played all the storylines, let me tell you something. In a game where you can play as a Sith Inquisitor, you can play as Darth Maul's like class, right? You can play as a Sith Warrior, you can play as a Jedi, you can play as a Jedi, Elite, Acolyte, all these different crazy classes with magic, space magic, and lightsabers and shit. The best plot line in that whole fucking game is the Imperial spy.
You're right.
You're literally playing a dude whose thing is that he has a sniper rifle and a hologram, but that doesn't matter. The storyline there was fucking amazing. And so just, these are the people who did that. And actually, fun note, right? The group that is going to be overseeing the continual evolution of the game post-launch is actually comprised mostly of people from, I don't remember which studio it is, but the studio that oversees the continual aspects of SWTOR.
Oh, so good.
So, because that's all BioWare, so they've brought in those members of the team.
Makes me so happy.
It is, there's so much opportunity, and in a kind of conclusion note, right? There's so much opportunity here for things to go wrong. There is so much opportunity for EA to step in and fuck things over in a way that BioWare wouldn't want, but we as the consumers won't even really know that it wasn't BioWare. But
That's some shit.
there have been so many moments over the course of the last 3 weeks or so of me really changing my mind that I literally, like, to put it in perspective, guys, every day I have come home, put all this stuff on my watch later, picked up, like, I've started following a bunch of dudes who are just doing Anthem content right now and just watching tons of stuff. Like, I'm consuming everything I can find about it that's reputable because there is so much good. I feel like every new piece of news I hear is something that they know gamers want, they know people want, and they know, like, Casey's a smart guy. He knows EA's reputation. BioWare has been with EA since the beginning, and they know what this is like. So they know they have to come out and say, yeah, no loot boxes, only cosmetic microtransactions. Like, they're trying. And we can see that from our side, right? All that it's going to come down to is how much they get away with, right? As BioWare, how much they're allowed to do that they want to do opposed to what EA wants them to do. But here's the thing. How do you think that's determined? you know? That's not determined by us not playing the game, never wanting anything to do with it because it's an EA thing. That's determined by BioWare being able to succeed despite EA. Because if BioWare can make this game and get this game out and make money with it, have people buying it, have people playing it, have people willing to buy cosmetics because they look fucking awesome and they're only $1, or having people willing to buy javelins, continuing to spend money on this game and create a community that thrives for it, then EA gets to say, oh shit, you guys did it. It's a success. We didn't have to step in. But if they don't make any money off of it, that's when you're going to see it get super predatory because it's an evolving game. So over the course of the next 6 months, if they decide that it's not making enough money, that's when they're going to start forcing shit down their throat. That's what happened with Battlefield. It came out too early. And because of that, it didn't get completed. And it was close. It was really close to being awesome. But it came out too early. Battlefield 5, sorry. But they fucked it up because no one wanted it at the state it had come in. So then EA was like, fuck it, we got to go in and put all of this extra shit in there so that the people who are playing it feel this obligation to buy this stuff and we can make our money back. Because games are expensive. And guess who's putting the money up? EA. And I'm not saying it justifies them. I'm just saying that they've got a goal and BioWare has a goal. And us as consumers, well, yes, there is this idea of voting with your wallet and saying that I don't support this, so I'm not going to buy it. But punishing BioWare for EA's negligence or lack of understanding of the community, I don't know. I think personally that that's unfair. I think that BioWare deserves to have people who want to play their games playing their games. And I think, like, even now, last week, there's a thing people have wanted, a really small thing. The ability to be in a hub where you can see a lot of different people that necessarily aren't part of your party, but just people that you can hang out with and see. Because in an MMO, one of the big things is that you walk around and see people with in-game gear, and you're like, oh wow, that's what I can reach towards. That's the full level cap, crazy, like I beat the final boss kind of gear, and I want to get that, right? They didn't have that at the beginning. But over the course of the last couple of weeks, people have been talking about how badly they want what's called a player hub, which is that kind of area. And now, at launch, over the course of the last 2 weeks, they built this thing. And at launch, they announced yesterday that at launch they're going to have a player hub because the community said they wanted it. They actively said, you guys said you wanted this, so we got to work on it and we finished it. And now there's going to be a place called the Launch Bay where before missions you can go and see 15 other javelins than yourself and just walk around, emote with each other, hang out, and just be there like doing your gear or customizing your javelins and talking and being like, yo, how does this look, you know, before you go out on missions. It's a small thing, but it's a thing that matters. And that's the kind of stuff, the small things will build up, you know, if we, you know, as the community grows and people are like, oh, this doesn't really work well, or oh, we wish this was more like this. They listen, dude. They're in those Reddits. They're in those YouTube comments. They're active. They care.
So, at this point, Rios, I want to know, you're obviously still a little apprehensive about it, but where do you stand on it?
I'm willing to give it a shot, you know? Willing to give it a shot.
If nothing else, both Jalen and I are going to buy it, so you're going to watch us play it.
No, yeah. I mean,
and
I'm not going to lie.
We're going to be pressuring you to be a part of our fire team, though, because we're going to need more people.
Well, no, and I'm not gonna like lie on here though and be like, oh yes, I'm so because I'm not, you know. But and I don't, and listen to that too. I didn't get that same experience with WoW.
SWTOR?
No, yeah, definitely not SWTOR. If I did, oh my god, but no, BioWare.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't get that full BioWare experience growing up or anything. I was a Nintendo kid.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I'm still a little skeptical, but I am willing to give it a shot. I'm willing to try it out. It's going to take me a while before I want to put down money on the game and actually get it. Yeah. But I'm definitely going to download the demo and I'm going to play through the entire thing and really, you know, give it a shot, you know, because I think that's from what I've learned and everything. And there's a couple things that have struck my interest and I think it deserves a chance, you know.
Yeah.
I think everything does. So.
And I call that a success.
Yeah, that's all we're asking for, man. I've been turned in a way that I wasn't expecting to be because I really started negative on this game, and the more I've heard, the more I've been excited, and now I'm like, it's really all I'm thinking about. So I really just wanted to make sure that like you weren't missing out on an opportunity just because you didn't know what was going on or you didn't know you just didn't have the full story. And I think that that's how I feel about everyone, and that's why I'm glad that we're doing this as a podcast, so that if there is anyone out there who's apprehensive for the same kind of reasons, hopefully, you've gotten a little bit more information on it. And I'll tell you, there's a couple of guys that I can actually link in the description to kind of give you guys a little bit of reference of what I've been watching. It's been turning my mind. Dantix Gaming on YouTube, as well as Craze Gaming, have both been doing a lot of videos almost daily, really, just information, really deep dives on it. They went to the EA Game Changers and were able to play the game something like 2 months ago or whatever out in Sweden, and like really got a hold of it and got a handle for it and asked the devs questions. My Name is Bife also has
no freaking way, Bifey.
Yeah, he's been
Bifey
doing a series where he's been doing the lore of it, but he also he went out to Sweden for the Game Changers and actually did an interview with
Bife did an interview?
Oh no, sorry, he didn't go to Sweden. He did it at E3, but he did do an interview with one of the devs and was able to get some.
Bife is more than just a voice.
So yeah, in conclusion, thank you guys a lot for listening. And if this wasn't your cup of tea, hopefully you'll find something in our. We're up to, I think, 7 episodes now. So we got
8.
Yeah, this will be the 8th. So we got a lot of different stuff over there. And so please check out the stuff before this. And if you find something that suits your interest, then give us a follow and just stay tuned for more content. We're gonna keep doing a lot of different stuff. I think we've got a very we're trying to have variety in the podcast. So sometimes we talk about games, but I mean, this is only the second game we've talked about. So we're trying to kind of make sure that we do a little bit of fun stuff and then a little bit more serious stuff and get back to the fun stuff. And so we're trying some new things out. Go ahead and leave comments or let us know what you guys think. And
yeah, I mean, and if this was your cup of tea, reach out to us. I know I'm happy to talk about this game for days on end. So
yeah, and I've got a Facebook channel where I'm doing a lot of leaving a lot of information
Facebook's our
about
channels,
Evo.
their pages.
Whatever. I got a Facebook page, Jay Hansen, and I'm talking all about what's going on here. And
honestly, if we really want to connect with these youngins, being us. No, I'm just kidding. You got to get. It's that Instagram.
We're gonna hop
but
on
anyway,
TikTok.
That's another thing for another time.
but
I actually do have an announcement to make.
You can follow me on Instagram if you want at @TheRealJayHansen.
Oh my gosh, you did. Of course you did. But
is there an announcement a real announcement? Or?
Little message from
I may cut this.
Your you can cut it, but no, but it's
I probably won't.
It's a message from Evo's PR that we're gonna be working on getting a logo here soon.
Oh yeah.
This has been a very, very long journey for us, and I know this is probably the wrong podcast to do this, but those of you that are listening,
it is the only podcast, so I think it's okay.
Yeah. No. Like, I mean, this is the wrong episode to be putting it on because not everyone's.
We
it's
talked
okay.
about it a little bit, but no. Ideally, we'll have a logo probably by this one releases. Hopefully, maybe we don't know.
No, we might actually.
Next week.
This has been a very grueling challenge for us as a company, and I just thought I'd update you guys.
We went through a lot of different options, and at this point, it looks like next week we may be finally coming to a conclusion. And if that's the case, that means that this podcast is going to start showing up in a lot of other places. Hopefully, iTunes and Google Play, as well as some other places like maybe Stitcher or SoundCloud, if we can get us out there. Try to really kind of put it in a place where it's a little bit more accessible. You guys have kind of reached out and said that it's a little bit hard to kind of go through, multiple channels, the app, and then finding the podcast and all that stuff. So we want to make it more accessible, but it has not been easy to do that, and we've been doing our best to get it out to you. So thank you for sticking around and listening if you have been. And here soon, hopefully we're going to have some really good announcements. On the next episode, if anything does change or if we've kind of expanded in any way, we'll definitely be sure to clue you guys in at the beginning as well. The logo will also give us a opportunity to finally have a YouTube channel that has a cohesive brand, and because we didn't want to just have the little colored letter that comes up when you don't have any kind of logo. So we wanted to make sure that we had something that was professional, and hopefully, once we do get that logo, we'll start a Evo channel, and like I said, we'll let you guys know on the podcast once that's all out. But we've got a lot of different plans for what we're going to be putting up for that. Also, one more announcement, I guess, if we are trying to do all this.
Announcements out.
We've got a special kind of concept cast, I guess, that we're working on right now. So here soon you might see something go up that's drastically different. It's not properly evoked thoughts on this channel, depending. That'll be kind of a sort of demonstration kind of thing for a tabletop game we've been working on. So that's something too that you can look forward to. And yeah, I think with that, I'm definitely out of announcements. Does anyone else have anything they want to say?
Actually, pick up real quick. So another announcement that I like to do as Tommy is that I'm going to be, once we get the logo and everything and we get it up and going, the channel and all that, I'm going to be working on my own little personal project that's more related to a certain addiction that I have, which, you know, is to nicotine, you know. And it's just kind of my own little self-help journey, I guess, and, you know, going to learn about it along the way, or learn things about it along the way about myself, and, you know, explain, like, what kind of led me to pick that habit up. And, you know, I know that a lot of people that are close to me are smokers themselves, so hopefully that you guys can watch this and gain something from it, you know, maybe help, you know, you quit somehow. If not, you know, I don't know, but yeah, so I just thought I'd say that.
Right on, man.
But this is a little bit of a shorter episode. No, not at this point. But anyway, but yeah, a lot of things coming down the pipeline. Thank you all for listening. See you later.